thought previous round of applause was for me. No? Okay. I'm going to talk about some cognitive things which are existing as long as software development exists, and why I'm saying about 50 years, because almost 50 years ago the book of Frederick Brooks, Mythical Man-Months, was published. It was published in 1975. And please, guys, raise your hands who read this book. Yeah, 1, 2, 3. I think, Alex, I gave you my book to read 20 years ago or something. Yeah, first I read this book 20 years ago, then I reread it like 5 years ago, and then I read it last year. So this presentation was prepared last November, when Edgar asked me to come and speak about something. I thought maybe this could be a good topic for that, but I felt sick, so this presentation was cancelled, and now I'm trying again to speak about the same thing. And who I really am. Yeah, this nice guy in the suit is me. I started to work in 1997, so almost more than 26 years ago. I worked as a developer, as a QA engineer, team lead, architect, dev manager in some local bank. Also, again, as an architect. Those guys know. Yeah, in 2010 I founded community Agile Latvia. Not because I'm the most qualified Latvian Agilist, just because it was boring. I tried to find people who we can discuss Agile. You can connect and follow me on LinkedIn if you like. If you're not, then don't follow. So, yes. So for 50 years, even more, like 70 years, we are doing software projects, and still those projects are failing. So why cannot the heck we learn to do them properly? The answer is not that simple, but the guys who created Agile Manifesto tried to find the ways of not failing, at least failing but less frequently with doing software. So in 2001 they created so-called Agile Manifesto. Who can recall what was about? Okay, who of you had read this manifesto? Yeah, more than Frederick Brooks. Read Frederick Brooks. Okay, I guess that my point on Agile Manifesto, that it's the most misleading document in our days about Agile. So if you're reading Agile Manifesto and thinking, okay, those 4 values is what Agile is, you're wrong. Yeah? And but this manifesto gave a way for many Agile practices, extreme programming, disciplined Agile development, some Kanban thing, Scrum. It's an old presentation, so Scrum is not Agile, forget it. It's kind of cargo cult, money pyramid, made by a bunch of certification sellers and picked up by some management people who really think that doing Scrum can make you suck less with delivering software. So, but if we ask ourselves, is Agile the way of fixing the project? We should look at the numbers. And those numbers exist. We can find those numbers. There is a chaos report, so-called, made by Standish Group, American company, which does surveys every couple of years, sometimes every year, and they survey 50,000 of software development projects. This report costs $500, but you can find some free versions, a little bit outdated versions, or some numbers from recent reports online. So don't spend your money there. And if you compare early 2000 something, the success rate was around 20%, or sometimes even less. Yeah, if you look at 2011, success rate for all the projects they surveyed, 29%. Then you can see in 2015, the same, 2020, a little bit more, but it's not growing like this, it's not growing like this, it's going like this. Yeah? So, my point here is that we're done with Agile. We improved, using Agile, we improved our ability for successfully delivering software to the maximum. For the next thing which would help us to improve our ability to deliver software, we should look for other things. Probably Hannah will tell us what those things could be. Why is that? Because regardless of what practices we are employing in our delivery activities, we still have the same mindset as we had before we started doing Agile. Sometimes people transform their way of thinking, but as you can see from this quote, have you read it? Or do I need to read it for you?
Would be nice.
Okay.
If you offer it.
No. I hope everyone went to school and not forget how to read. Not only write code, but also read some words. So yeah, the systematic thinking patterns stay intact, so we could, despite of having daily stand-ups or retrospective, if we're thinking in the same way we thought before, we could repeat the same mistakes. So what is the root cause of those mistakes? The root cause is that we are using humans for doing software. And the humans are prone to error, misjudgment, neglecting requirements, and doing other stupid things. And the only way to remove human factor from this equation is to stop using humans at software development. But we are not going there. I'm not an artificial intelligence apologist, so I will talk how we can improve human way of thinking about our activities. So please meet Frederick Brooks, scientist who made his name in late 60s by creating IBM flagship of mainframe computers for almost 20 years. They were selling it all over the globe, sometimes in very interesting projects. You may find these dinosaurs still working somewhere. In Europe, in banks, in telecom, somewhere in America. Yeah. And as a result of his activities managing the development of this IBM 360 and OS 360, he wrote the book Mythical Man Months, where he stated his observations. So, I have chosen 6 sources of failure doing software. Optimism, misconception about comparison time and amount of work, target, trap, Conway's law, second systems effect, and complexity. So, why optimism is bad? Because we usually tend to plan for successful scenarios. Nobody going out to work, nobody expecting that brick would fall on his head. Everyone going out every morning thinking, okay, I'm going to work, I will make them. Yeah, the same when we're starting a software project, we're thinking, okay, requirements are there, so we will finish it on time, on budget, and probably no one would die in the process. That's very optimistic, you know. But later, when some experience was gathered, we know the rule of the bus factor, so we try not to have one single point of failure within a team. Also, we as engineers, we are very optimistic with our estimates. When we need to estimate something, we usually give our estimates, optimistically multiply it by 2, and think, okay, what could go wrong? Yeah. And also the third factor of why optimism is a bad thing, it's a lot of pressure created by management when they asking for these estimates and then using those estimates as commitments. So, and if you do not trust me that estimates are not a good thing, then please, one of the creators of Scrum, Jeff Sutherland, saying that they don't use estimates anymore. But of course I understand that if you're co-creator of Scrum, you can say that. If you're just ordinary Scrum Master in your company, you cannot say that. But still, let's not be optimistic about our estimates. So, second factor is time versus amount of work. When something is estimated for, say, 4 weeks, and we spend 2 weeks doing something, are we 50% done? How do you think? No, maybe yes. We cannot say. We need something better than time spent for estimating how much further we need to go. Also, if we spend 2 weeks on implementing 50% of functionality, it does not guarantee us that other 50% of functionality would take 2 weeks. It may take 1 week, 2 weeks, 3 weeks, we don't know. So, also, another Agile giant, Ron Jeffries, saying that trying to calculate something about team performance and the amount of work a team could do is a little bit naive these days. So he's apologizing for inventing the concept of team's velocity. You may refer to this, yeah, and say that let's not calculate our velocity. Tar pit. Do you know what is tar pit? Tar, it's organic liquid, almost like mud, but much thicker. So, and there are famous tar pits in LA where all prehistoric animals fell, and they were conserved there. So right now, paleontologists and archaeologists getting a lot of artifacts from there. So likely, when we starting the project using some technology, we are risking to go into this tar pit and stay there forever. For instance, do you remember Angular.1? Yeah? Yeah, everyone remembers it. So imagine, just imagine that you started the huge development projects, like for 40 people, 15 of them were front-end developers, using Angular.1 like in 2015, yeah? And Google still promised you there will be a compatibility between Angular 1 and Angular 2. So you spend the whole year doing stuff on Angular 1, and then Angular 2 came out, and you see there is no compatibility. So that means you are in a target. So, and Google was moving quite fast forward, releasing newer versions of Angular 2, Angular 3, and etc., 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 every half of a year, and you stick with your Angular 1. Yeah? So the world around you, once you make a decision and start using something, the world around you moving much faster than you with your chosen technology. That is a problem. And yeah, the legacy, such a legacy does not come out of nowhere. It's not developers are just trying to do some shitty software. It's the whole company and circumstances are folding that way that you're ending up with something which holds you back. Okay, the fourth factor is Conway's law. Have someone heard about it? Okay, Melvin Conway in late 60s or early 70s, also computer scientist who started his work as computer scientist in United States Department of Defense, stated the law that the structure of a software would replicate the structure of organization which is designing this software. What's the problem here, right? Who cares? In your ERP system there will be accounting, billing, and everything else, for instance. Yeah? If you have a team of Node.js developer, React developer, and MongoDB guy, probably your application would be like React frontend, Node.js backend, and everything will be stored in Node. Yeah. But on a bigger scale, the problem is quite known. Yeah. So the good example is NASA Mars Climate Orbiter, which NASA lost in 1999. So when it reached the Mars, yeah, it suddenly disappeared. And their attempts to understand why it suddenly disappeared, instead of going to Mars orbit, led to discovery. So, first of all, this spacecraft was developed by two different organizations. One organization was Lockheed Martin, yeah, and another organization was NASA itself. So the propulsion system was developed by Lockheed Martin, navigation system was developed by NASA. What could go wrong? Pretty much everything. So Lockheed Martin, they discovered that Lockheed Martin in the propulsion system used pounds for measuring power, and NASA used newtons for measuring pounds. So little bit difference, like 4 times. So it, instead of slowing down, it accelerated and went to the sun. So NASA lost around $250 million, and it wasn't the problem itself. The problem was that similar spacecraft developed by the same organization was following climate orbiter like in 2 weeks after it should reach the Mars and repeat the same mistake. So fortunately they found it during this time and fixed it. So again, second system effect. When you are, say, architect or developer, and you develop your first system, and you gathered all those problems, all those hiccups, all those that you could, yeah, you're saying, okay, my next system will be perfect. I know all those problems I could meet. Also, there are some new shiny technologies I could use. Yeah. For instance, in 2013, I heard about microservices, and I thought, what a brilliant idea! We're going to use microservices for our new system. So we had no clue how to develop microservices, but we decided, okay, let's do it. We failed miserably because the component I was developing, I designed to develop, it was really fast. It was using non-blocking circular queue, single thread, so it was really fast. It was restarting in 1.5 seconds. Everything was brilliant, but we failed anyway, due to many reasons. Major reason is that we tried to use all those fancy things we heard on conferences. The same example is here. It's this QR code is a link to Melvin's Conway, the same Melvin's Conway essay on second systems effect, and this is this fighting jet F-35, which was developed, started developing to replace F-16. Yeah, and the problem started already from the beginning. So the requirements for this fighting jet was really contradictory. So they wanted to have normal version for short landing strip and for sea carriers also. So they overspent on the design of this engine for it like 3 times, and it lasted longer than expected, twice. And the cost is enormous, but yeah, they managed to collect all those nice modern things into it. I don't remember, but approximately the cost of one F-35 is around 100 millions, if I'm not mistaken. Also, complexity. What could be bad about complexity? We have essential complexity of the domain we creating software for. Yeah? And here with Agile we are pretty good in deconstructing this complexity, like having epics, user stories, tasks, activities, eating elephant by small bites, everything is fine. But later, when we creating this piece of software, accidental complexity we were not planning to get coming into play, because doing something complex we create unwanted dependencies. Maybe it's also not a technical complexity, but organizational complexity when you're creating big piece of software. So, and here we really suck. So we developed a lot of automated tools for detecting some problems in our software. We are trying to create some agile scaling framework which are doing even worse. They're doing the situation even worse, to my opinion. Maybe I'm subjective, but I haven't seen good implementation of scaled agile approach. My point here that just knowing that such problem exists might help you to recognize those problems and not going in that direction. So, yeah, and so this is agile related to time, so I'm saying that, okay, agile does not solve those problems. I'll finish first, then will be time for questions. Okay?
Okay. I just wanted before this question.
Okay.
So I have been in many agile conferences and something like that, and everybody just talking that they haven't seen good agile or stuff like that, but nobody says what is good agile.
That's a good question. What is agile? How do you think?
Iterative improvement.
Okay, one version. My version is the way to sell certifications. Also, I like the definition of agility from sport. So the definition of agility is quite simple. Agility is an ability to quickly change direction, responding to a stimulus, or stop moving. That's it. So you have to react quickly. And all those agile principles listed in Agile Manifesto are the way helping us to react quicker to some change of surroundings.
Yeah, but how to achieve it? It's like depends from the humans, which are involved.
Yes.
So if basically we have mostly the bad agile, then by the logic we have bad people at agile.
No, we have normal people.
Like okay, like you're not but you got it, what I want to say.
Yes. Okay. So how to achieve? First of all, I'm not saying that there is bad agile, good agile, fake agile, real agile. Every agile implementation is good, yeah? If it helps you to deliver something. If it's not, probably it's something else. So my suggestion is to create idealistic view. But why I'm saying the word idealistic is because that you have to know that this view is idealistic. Okay, Scrum Guide is an idealistic view on how you should run Scrum. You might never achieve all those, you might not check all those checkboxes, but you should really aim for this, yeah? And also, what I've learned throughout the years of practice, the good principles, strong opinion weakly held. So as soon as you notice that something, so you're doing the good practices, all you've been doing like for a decade, and suddenly you realize that it's not helping. So you should stop doing it. Not telling that, okay, in 20 years ago we were doing something like this and it was working. It's not anymore, then you should drop it. Yeah? So I guess it's all for today, guys. Do you have any questions?
So, why do we still keep failing at software projects?
Good question.
Good question. Do you have any ideas?
I don't know. Maybe I have one, like maybe theory or thought. maybe we are focusing too much on the theory, like, and we do not have the courage to like challenge the agile leader or something. It could be, right?
Yeah, I've noticed.
I'm not from the IT field. I'm from the manufacturing field, but it's like IT things are like new for me. But I'm just doing the reality check or something like. I don't know.
I've got one hypothesis. Yeah, I agree with you. So I've noticed throughout the years of going to Agile conferences, the decision makers from the companies are never there. So they're going to different conferences. So in order to convince them that they also should use Agile, not only development teams, we should go to those conferences. But we are boiling in our own.
Yeah, but it's actually all over the world and all over the other prophecies, not only the IT. Like, the point is that we have too many focusing on the theory, but if the theory would work, then everything would be fine, you know?
Yeah, probably.
I don't know.
You know, experimental science doing experiments.
Or we cannot adapt the situation when it's at the right time, or I don't know. I'm just philosophing.
Probably. Somebody else got a question.
Do you have tips for improving the mindset of people in the team to fit more to the definition of Agile, as you said, from the sports?
It's a topic for another presentation. What would be professional sports if it would be like software development?
It's like the standing. You know, the standing.
If tomorrow was 2010 again, would you again go for some agile movement, leading some development, presentational shit, you know?
Yeah, definitely. I like after parties, after conferences.
Is this really the last slide?
Yeah.
Okay, but then, so what's after the Agile? So what else can we do? So you said...
Hana. He will tell us what's after Agile.
But from your perspective?
From my perspective, engineering is still a thing. So just experiment and adopt what's working and abandon what's not.
Just to avoid these kind of things you mentioned, like...
Yeah. Someone. Yeah. Not you, behind you.
Yes, do you think the job will work everywhere in every team and organizations? Or is there some like science or red flags that it's not a good option?
It would work everywhere if there are people who really willing to make it work.
So it's not about organization type, it's about the people who work.
But any organization consists of people. Yeah? Yes, you?
Okay, I have a lot of thoughts, but definitely, probably, we had a discussion before about why Agile fails. It seems that we are too focusing on the processes instead of focusing on the people and how they work and why they struggle to deliver and so on. Because as far as I understood, the Agile was created based on some empirical experiments, and they was like formalized in some rules, and probably the formalization was wrong, and probably they didn't put something most important topics there in the manifest and inside all others methodologies.
Yes. I'm afraid that the majority of the people are getting manifest wrong. It's not that guys came and invented this manifest. They came already doing what now is called Agile, and they agreed they doing the same things, and they named those things. They're doing similar.
So we currently are doing Agile in the same way as these guys doing.
We don't know.
So that's why I'm actually concerning about the that Agile was formalized incorrectly, or we're doing something incorrectly.
Yeah, but by Agile you mean Scrum, probably.
Might be, yeah.
Because 95% of Agile is Scrum implementation, and Scrum is not Agile anyhow.
Okay.
Yes, please.
You mentioned about that one of these biases is like this optimism that comes from management who wants to do some project very quickly, very fast, like be first in the market, etc. But the healthiest way would be from developer's perspective to be more pessimistic, seeing the potential hurdles, etc. Do you see a way how they both could be incorporated into optimistic pessimism?
I didn't say that we should be pessimistic, and I also didn't say that optimism is coming only from management. As a human beings, we are optimistic. We hope to live another day, to go for the vacation. Even sometimes we plan vacation 6 months ahead, despite we might be fired in this period, and that won't be really a nice vacation after that. But we are optimistic, and it's not bad. We just should be cautious when we planning something and estimating something. So probably planning too much ahead and a lot planning. It's not a good thing, yes, but being quick in the market, it's not optimism, it's kind of a law of surviving in business. You just have to figure.
So we should replace the optimism with objectivity.
There is no such thing.
There's nothing. Thing.
Okay, I think Edgar is giving me signs that I should wrap up.
No signs, but I can give you.
Sure.